when was the last time I did a review, huh? A while, right? Well, I've never liked the idea of doing reviews on games just because, so I instead wanted to wait for a game that felt worth talking about. Which leads to this video here. Although only a spin-off and not anywhere near as long, Neptunia x Senran Kagura Ninja Wars is a surprisingly fun and detailed game that works on the fundamentals established from earlier RPG spin-offs in the series while adding enough extra content to feel like a full package. That's not to say it doesn't have faults, because it certainly does, but I was very happy with this title by the time the credits rolled, even with some of the jankiness it carried. So join me for this small review of a spin-off that I truly feel is one of the most enjoyable spin-offs the Neptunia series has ever had. To be honest, I'm amazed a crossover between Neptunia and Senran Kagura hadn't happened sooner. Both franchises came around on the PlayStation 3 and not too far away from each other. Neptunia from 2010 and SK in 2011. Both tend to get banded together for their ecchi content, and both have seen their fair share of controversy over the years. Both games tending to be called sexist for their exaggeration of female features and sexualized jokes. A discussion that is usually met with being laughed out the room if brought to someone who's actually played either series, due to Neptunia being far tamer than what the critics suggest and having a female lead developer, while Senran Kagura's women are all powerful ninjas who save the world and just so happen to look good. In fact, this spin-off actually makes a joke about the controversies entirely, where when discussing ideas of justice during a daily event, Vert expresses frustration towards games being branded as sexist just for having strong male leads or beautiful women, critiquing the industry for such harsh branding. Ultimately, art is art. I am a firm believer of this. People should be able to design what they want in any manner they want and feel proud for what they do. If that art happens to be sexual, that changes nothing. As long as it's legal, criticisms like that feel pointless. But I digress. The point of this is that these two franchises have always felt like siblings separated at birth, that are only now getting to share a spotlight within the game, which marks 10 whole years removed from Senran Kagura's debut. You could tell that this meant a lot for both companies as well, as I've never seen a Compile Heart published game have as much advertising as this did. They wanted people to notice this crossover in the presumable hopes that it will sell well enough to do it again one day. Starting off with its story and characters though, I'll keep the story portion of this brief as ultimately there isn't too much here. The plot is little more than a tool used to bring the two franchises together and not much else. The main four goddesses from the Neptunia series are fighting the lead four ninjas from Senran Kagura for control of their nation's crystal power. A battle that lasts less than one chapter as a great evil exposes itself to the world and declares war, forcing a peace treaty between Neptunia land and Senran land. These four goddesses are Neptune, Noir, Blanc and Vert, as you might expect, while the Senran representatives are Asuka, Homura, Yumi and Miyabi. I'll be the first to admit I've never actually played a Senran Kagura game, despite my earlier rant, so only recognised Asuka due to her being the main character, and Yumi due to her guest appearance in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. The main villains, called the Steam Legion, want the crystals across the kingdoms, starting with the nation not associated with either Neps or Asuka's. So now joining forces, they head off to this region and get to meet their locals and introduce two more playable characters, both entirely unique to this game, so unfortunately will never be seen again after this one. Firstly is Yuki, the cat-like ninja who has a near obsessive relationship with the princess of her kingdom, and if I'm honest, is the most fun character to play in this game. And no, it's not because she's sexy. She's actually really light on her feet, making combat more daring as you dance around everyone. The other is Go the Crow, an amnesiac out to find her identity. Oddly enough, she never truly finds it. Instead, she gets hints and the player essentially is left to put it together once the credits roll. The plot continues beyond this rather simply. The 10 girls chase after the Steam Legion. A sub-villain of some category will show up to buy the main villain time to leave. They chase them again, rinse and repeat. It's actually rather unfortunate because some of these side villains would have been fun to see be further expressed before they're beaten up and forgotten. Even the leader of the group falls victim to this in the end, just buying time for the greater threat she was setting up. It's honestly why I feel the story is so weak in this game. It feels like it goes through the same beats just to justify more levels and witty banter, which to the game's credit is good for the most part. I still laughed plenty throughout the 16 plus hours I spent on this game. This leads into something I can easily compliment though. The last action RPG spin-off the Neptunia series got was Cyber Dimension Neptunia 4 Goddesses Online, a game that, although fun, was far shorter, had far less to do, and had very little replayability, while this game improves on all accounts. It being a crossover just adds to the writing and humour, thankfully. All 10 of the main characters bounce off one another in harmony, while never compromising who they are to fit a scene, conversation, or friendship. It's actually quite refreshing to hear Nep and the gang chat to one another so frequently, and have the same humour they've embraced for a while, even if some familiar running jokes show up and feel as run down as they have for years. While the SK girls add their own flair to everything and make even smaller moments feel more exciting. The two new faces end up completing the team, and despite so many faces, it feels like everyone gets equal screen time. Onto the gameplay. There's a lot to unpack with the gameplay here, more than I was expecting, so bear with me as I try and break it all down for you. Let's start with the basics. You have some basic attack strings per character, some slower than others, some heavier hitting, some having better range, making it down to your preferences on who you play as. Additionally, everyone has a ranged attack where they throw kunai or ninja stars at the opponent that can be swapped between instantly at the push of a button, with the former focusing on status conditions and the latter raw damage and stagger. You can guard, which also has a just guard timing to regain stamina instantly, which isn't overpowered in this game like it was in Cybernet, where in that game it just gave you a free counter hit that did massive damage. A dodge button is also present to make more dangerous attacks an option to avoid, and a jump button that can be used for aerial carnage. But that's just a standard setup. Each character has a selection of up to 8 special skills that cost stamina to use. You equip 4 at a time and can alternate between them to build up deadly combos and setups by holding a button and pressing a direction on the D-pad. The game encourages using this as it stacks onto a meter that ups your stats as long as you can maintain the flow. Each character can also assign 1 or 4 elements to themselves for a limited amount of time, giving different buffs to turn the tide of battle and creating even more layers as each buff can open different combat routes. My favourite was the stamina recovery buff, as it allowed me to act crazier with the special skills and have the stamina remaining to dash back into the next action after hitting an enemy away. To top it all off, each character has what is essentially an ultimate attack, where you build up a red bar around your character's icon as you play, and when full, can unleash a powerful cinematic attack that rips foes apart with ease. All of this might sound like a lot to think about for a small spin-off anime action game, but we're technically not done, as there's one more thing sitting in the room that, when fully realised, makes the combat so brilliant to me. You bring 2 characters with you to every mission. At the tap of a button, you can swap to your chosen partner and immediately pick up where your first character left off. The game even rewards you for doing this by giving the character a starting attack if the swap happens mid-attack with the first, making the battle flow continue and allowing your teammates' health and stamina to recover far quicker than if they remained active. All that matters in making this game fun is finding the 2 characters you like that you feel have good synergy. For the majority of the game, I used Homura for heavy hitting damage paired with Yuki for her speed and tactical skills. Keep in mind there's only 2 of the 10 characters, so you're bound to find your preference style. Realising that Miyabi was essentially a parry based character was also exciting to think about just for the options alone. Through mostly side quests, you can pick up new weapons and charms. You can't replace your physical weapons, but you can replace both of your ranged weapons, and the charms give you specific effects to your character to help turn the tide of battle. Just bear in mind that the stronger charms tend to have prerequisites like being low on health before getting the boost it offers. Additionally, you pick up gemstones that boost specific stats directly, which can be upgraded by combining duplicates or by having gems from the same colour also be equipped to the character's individual upgrade sheet. I went full attack because why wouldn't I? But there's nothing stopping you for going for defense or skill enhancers or specific enemy attacks instead. There's also one last way to buff characters, and it's tied to a slightly odd minigame. You can pick any of the girls to meditate, where you play a balancing game with them for a while and they gain boosts for the next 3 missions. The enemy variety is limited, however, and it doesn't do enough to always justify worrying about everything the game lets you do, as you'll soon run into recolored variants of enemies before too long. Thankfully, however, the boss fights make up for this, as outside of the very first boss, every single fight was thrilling and engaging with unique gimmicks and strategies to work against. The fight against the returning Steamax and Afimojas being easy highlights, even if I feel they missed an opportunity to play that amazing Steamax theme that he got in V2R again during his battle. The main villain and leader of the Steam Legion, Yo Gamer... Wait, what? Did I read that right? Yo Gamer? That's her name? And in Japan it's pronounced Your Gamer? That's hilarious! Nevertheless, your gamer had a great boss fight in her own way. All in all, the gameplay is the biggest strength for this game, and is the main thing I want to see continue if this crossover continues beyond this game, which I really hope it does. The music is really charming too. Not groundbreaking by any means, but I found myself humming along to several tracks you've heard throughout this video. I think the thing I find myself most disappointed to see return from Cybernep though was the limited number of treasure chests in each map. The game has a set number of treasures per area. Once you nab them all, that's it. They're never refilled or changed or randomized or anything. So natural free exploration feels somewhat pointless after you've picked up everything, harming replayability. Additionally, I would have liked to see more level variety in the next title. The 10 levels the game comes with repeats visual ideas between levels a little too often. Although not as bad as Dragonstar was in that regard, it still feels like it would have been nice to see them do more with it in the next game. There's only so many times you can make a forest or canyon interesting, you know? To close on this, can I recommend this game? To that I say yes, but only for the gameplay and characters. The story isn't unique and repeats itself too often, and the level design is rather basic in a lot of ways. Yet the gameplay is way too fun to ignore, and I think it's commendable just how much was accomplished by this game despite what would have been a rather limited budget. I can't stress enough how much I want this collaboration to continue. Also, whatever the future brings, if this collab does continue, please bring Yuki and Go the Crow along too. I'm tired of Nep spin-offs introducing new characters that are then never seen again after their debut. These are interesting characters, and the fact that Go never truly gets her memory back is enough for me to see what could come next. Believe it or not, my ultimate hope would actually be to see a fighting game come from this eventually. I'd love to see a Neptunia x Senran Kagura fighting game that played similarly to games like Persona 4 Arena or BlazBlue Central Fiction. Which also means I'd want Arc System Works to do it, but it's unfortunately unlikely right now, even after acknowledging Yumi's appearance in an Arxis fighter due to how busy they are. But I'll wrap it up here. Give the game a shot. It's no masterpiece, but there's definitely a lot of fun to be had. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all around later. Take care now. Peace.